You know, when we think about history, our minds usually jump to these huge, epic moments, right? Big battles, famous kings, massive empires. But what if I told you that sometimes the biggest changes come from the smallest things? Today, we're going to look at one of those tiny, clever inventions that, honestly, changed the world.
It sounds kind of crazy, doesn't it? A tiny piece of metal changing an entire civilization? No way. But that is exactly what happened in ancient Egypt. They found a better way to weigh things, and it set off a chain reaction. So what was their big secret?
Okay, so this is the absolute key to the whole thing. The real genius here was figuring out how to take something you can't see, a concept like equal weight, and turn it into something that anybody could look at and understand instantly. Let's get into how they pulled it off.
Right, so in ancient Egypt, weighing things was everything. I mean, their whole economy depended on it. Grain, gold, trade goods, you name it. But their early scales, they're kind of iffy. You pretty much had to just eyeball the balance beam and hope you were right. It was a total guessing game.
And just look at the difference here. On one side, you've got guesswork, which is always going to lead to arguments and people not trusting each other. But on the other side, you've got actual proof. You've got clarity. And that clarity builds confidence and trust, which, let's be honest, is the glue that holds any economy together.
So, what was this revolutionary piece of technology? What was this game changer? It was something so simple. A pointer. Just a little piece of metal they attached to the scale. But that tiny little addition, it solved the whole problem of precision and had this absolutely massive impact.
And here it is, the balanced pointer. Its job was super simple. Just be a clear, visual sign that everyone could agree on. So instead of arguing about whether a beam looks level, you just look at the pointer. If it's lined up perfectly, deal done. No more arguments.
And using it was just so simple, so elegant. You put your goods on one side, your standard weights on the other, and then you just watch the pointer. Any tiny little tilt, something your eye might totally miss, suddenly becomes obvious. It's undeniable. This simple process just removed all the doubt.
This quote just hits the nail on the head, doesn't it? It perfectly explains the genius of this thing. You can't see weight. It's an invisible force. But you can see where that pointer is pointing. It basically translates physics into plain, simple information that anyone can read.
So how does this one little invention help build an entire empire? Well, this is where it gets really cool. Because that tiny little change didn't just stay in the marketplace. Oh no. It created this huge ripple effect that ended up making the foundations of Egypt so much stronger.
All of a sudden, you could be precise everywhere it really mattered. In the markets, it meant trade was finally fair. For goldsmiths and other craftspeople, it meant no more wasting precious metals. And for the state, it was a game changer for collecting taxes and managing the huge grain supplies that kept everyone fed.
And this is the absolute heart of the matter. The power to measure things accurately is directly tied to the power to govern. I mean, think about it. If you know exactly how much of something you have, and you know exactly where it is, you can manage everything so much better. You can plan for the future, and you can build a really powerful state.
Here's the thing. Once you can accurately weigh, say, a pile of grain, it's not just a pile of grain anymore. It becomes a number. It's data. And that number can be written down by a scribe, taxed by a government official, and handed out by an administrator. You're turning the messy physical world into clean, organized, manageable information.
But believe it or not, the story of the scale doesn't stop with money and grain silos. Its impact went so much deeper. It leaped from being a tool for the physical world to becoming this incredibly powerful symbol for the moral and spiritual world.
So yeah, on one level, it was just a really practical tool, for the boring, everyday task of weighing out barley or a piece of gold. But in the mind of the Egyptians, it became something so much bigger. It became the ultimate instrument for judging a person's soul in the afterlife.
This is the famous weighing of the heart. The idea was, after you died, your heart was put on one side of the scale, and on the other, the single feather of Ma'at, the goddess of truth, justice, and cosmic order. I mean, that's literally the weight of truth itself. If your heart was heavy with bad deeds, the scale would tip, and that was it for you. It shows you how deeply this idea of a perfect, impartial balance was baked into their entire culture.
So let's pull all these threads together. What's the real legacy of this little piece of metal? It isn't just the tool itself. It's the new kind of world it helped create, a world that was more measurable. And because it was measurable, it was more manageable.
And that's the main takeaway here.
The balance with a pointer wasn't just a slightly better scale. It was what we'd call a foundational technology. It created the trust, the precision, and the sense of order that a really complex society needs to even exist, let alone thrive.
And you can see the whole story right here, laid out nice and simple. It starts with one small tweak to a tool. That improved tool makes the economy stronger and more reliable. That stronger economy allows the state to get bigger and more organized. And finally, the idea behind the tool becomes so central, it evolves into this powerful cultural symbol of fairness and truth itself. What a journey!
It really gets you thinking, doesn't it? For the ancient Egyptians, it was the balance pointer, a tiny thing they probably stopped even noticing after a while. So, what about us? What are the small, almost invisible inventions that we take for granted that are quietly shaping our entire world right now? What's our pointer?